Hello and welcome to another Cuppa with Kaci. I've been gone for a week or so because I injured my neck, but I'm back now and I'm ready to get into it, so let's just start. Okay, so the plan for today's video is to draw the trading card prize for my 100 subscriber competition. And we'll just get straight to it. So I'm gonna start out by saying that it is so good to be back drawing after over a week of not being able to. I locked a joint in my neck and it was just like pure agony to sit and try and draw, and of course it was on the right side and I'm right-handed, so it was just wasn't good. But now it's all fixed and I'm back and I am drawing most days when I get the chance and I'm excited to make some more video content for you guys. So this week's video, as I said before, is the artwork prize for the 100 subscriber contest that I had going. I had 2 winners and this is the prize for one of them. And I am drawing her OC, which you can see I've got the reference image up on my phone to the side there so I can get the character design correct. This is actually a character that I designed many years ago, so that artwork is actually mine as well. So I should know the character, but I haven't drawn her in such a long time, so I needed to have the reference image up. And the character is quite shy and she's really sweet, so I wanted to showcase that in the design for the trading card. So that's what I did. I used this cute little pose where she's got cat ears, so they're sort of down, looking all sad, and she's peeking up through her hair and blushing and all smiley and cute. So that's what I wanted to do for this piece, and I think I managed to pull it off. I did have an issue later on when I realized I'd done a terrible job with the face. It was like one of those draw the other eye things, and one eye's perfect and the other eye's like doo. So I had to paint over one of the eyes and a lot of the face to redo it, and I don't actually have the footage because my camera stopped recording and I didn't realize, so you don't see the me painting over the eye and fixing it, but as you watch me go through the process of this piece, you will probably notice how uneven the eyes are, probably a lot sooner than I did when I was drawing it, painting it and colouring it all in. So you'll be like, thank you for fixing it when you see the final piece at the very end. I decided to use my Himi gouache paints for this piece, partially because the character's very colourful and I wanted to be able to showcase that really well, and these gouache paints are just lovely. And partially because I've had them sitting next to my desk for the longest time and not used them, and I was like, you know what, I want to paint today. So sorry if you didn't want to paint a trading card, but you're getting one because I have done this as a paint. And yeah, that's pretty simple. I realised as I was mixing the colours, I didn't actually have a spare piece of paper to swatch them on to see if the colour was correct, so I just dipped off camera to grab myself just some printer paper to test the colours on. And I forgot when doing this that these paints have a bit of a drying shift. The colour tends to dry a little bit darker than it is when it's wet, or at least it was for me. So I made this skin tone expecting it to be like my watercolours and drying a bit lighter, so I made it a little bit darker, and then it ended up coming out too dark when it dried, so I was just like, oh dang it. So I do go over with a lighter shade again and try and lighten it up, and I think I redo the face for this piece at least 5 times because I'm just not happy with the skin tone. But I am happy with the final result of the piece in general. I think it came out really nicely. I think that's partially because of how nice these paints are, despite being quite cheap. I don't use gouache very often, so it was a nice change from watercolour and Copic markers. The only thing is, I haven't quite worked out a way that I like to shade them. So with watercolour, I would, with the blush, just, make it a little bit wet and put some pink on there and blend it out. It doesn't quite work the same with gouache, I found. Like, I was having a lot of trouble making it blend out smoothly. I don't know if it's because I was using too much water or not enough water, or my paints weren't thick enough, or they were too thick. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some playing around with these to try and figure out a way that I like to use for shading, or at least to make the blushes on the face, because I redo those several times until the end, when I then had to paint over the whole face and redo them anyway. So it was a bit frustrating, that's for sure, but we got there in the end, and I'm glad to say that they really liked the piece. So yay! I'm gonna package it up and post it off, when I get a chance to leave the house. But you'll get it eventually, I promise. And I have a few other of these that I've got in the works, plus some commission work at the moment, so I've got plenty of video content coming up for you guys. I think the second one of these I might do using Copics, just to see the difference. So Skitterkins, yours will be done with my Copic markers. And then I have a friend's birthday coming up, so I'm going to make them a gift for their birthday, and maybe do theirs in watercolour. So we'll have a couple of videos of me doing this size of art. If you have any tips or suggestions for making the videos more interesting to watch, feel free to put them in the comments below, because I'm still kind of doing this by trial and error, and any feedback, it will be absolutely beneficial to making my content more in the way of what you would like to watch. So this is where you may notice the complete mess up I did with the eyes. It's not, I suppose it's not as noticeable. Like, I'm looking at it now and watching it back, and it's not too bad. I think maybe it's because I don't have the line art on yet. Could be that the lines made it super obvious how wonky those eyes are. But the character's left eye, the one that you see on the right hand side, is actually like nearly twice the size of the other one, and it almost works with the angle that I've done the face, but it is by no means good. And I could just be like, oh, that's my style, but no, I do go in and I fix that, because I do not like having wonky eyes. It really bugs me. And that's, I guess, the downside of doing traditional art, is you can't just flip the canvas to see obvious mistakes like that. If this was digital and I flipped the canvas, I would have noticed right away that the eyes were uneven. But because I'm doing traditional, I wasn't seeing that as early as I should have. So I spent a lot of time on the face with the eyes wrong, and then had to go back through and cover it and fix it, which is good that I was doing this in gouache, because I had the ability to do that. So the next couple that I do, I'm going to have to make sure I do not mess up the face with the first pass of colour, because there's no going over it. I will have to restart the whole thing if I do that, and that will make me very sad. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched my older videos, but you may notice my new paintbrushes. These are the ones that I have been waiting for months to arrive, and I'm so glad that they're finally here. They are so nice to work with. They're watercolour brushes, but I figured I could use them with my gouache without any trouble, and I was absolutely right. They're just so nice, and I love them. they're amazing, and I will link them below if you want to buy yourself a set. They are not cheap, but they are definitely worth the money I paid for them. And yeah, just throwing that out there. Yay for nice paintbrushes. It's good to finally have some. This is probably the third time I've gone in and tried to make that face have some nice blushies. I was trying different tones because I'm not 100% confident with my colour mixing abilities, and so I mixed a few different tones of colour to do this and I had to go away and let them dry and then come back and try again. And I did different like oranges, I tried the pink, I tried both the reds, I made some new skin tone and put some pinks into it. It was a lot of effort to try and get the blushes how I wanted. And this is me going over with a paler skin tone because I didn't like how dark the face was. And I tried to define the lips and the nose a bit more here. It was really hard. I have not found a way that I like to draw mouths where I define the lips and it doesn't just look like they're wearing really horrible lipstick. And I wish I could figure out how to do it. Sometimes it works, but most times it just looks awkward and messy and I hate it. So I really need to work on mouths. Just throwing that out there. If you guys have any suggestions or help you could give me on that, please do. I always love help and feedback, and anything you can give me is deeply appreciated. Okay, so now I'm going through and shading the clothes now that the base colours have dried. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do this, so I do go through with a few different sort of effects to try and make it look nice. I originally was just going to do flat colours, but I thought it looked a little too bare, and also the pose that I've done, you couldn't really see the form very well without shading, so I didn't have to, but I didn't feel right not putting shading in because you couldn't really see what was going on with the arms without it. And so I put some shading in on the purple there and a little bit here on the blue. But the blue I mostly left as the base. I just added the stripes of the sleeves in because I felt like they needed a little something to make them sort of pop more than just being plain blue. And the original design of the character does have the stripy sleeves. She also has like little skull patterns on the purple top, but trying to do that with a paintbrush would have just been way too messy, in my opinion. I didn't want to ruin it trying to put a detailed pattern on the top and then hate it afterwards. So I go in and do the hair now. The hair of this character is actually white with like green underneath. So I mixed a little bit of green into the white paint just to make it really pale green, just so it would stand away from the white background a little bit. And then I went through with a very slightly darker green and added some strands in just so you could see some form in the hair, not just a whitish green blob. And I did just drop my paintbrush, which was really annoying. I'm so glad it didn't put a big blob of white anywhere, but it just kind of flew out of my hand for no reason. I don't know, maybe if there was a ghost in the room, just grabbed it and threw it. But it just flew out of my hand and was like, oh, okay. But thankfully I didn't get white paint anywhere because that would have been so frustrating to have to try and cover. Now, it was at this point that I realised that the background was really dull, and I realised all too late that I was going to have to fill it with something, and I should have done it first so that if I accidentally went into the character, the lovely opaque gouache would cover it up and I wouldn't have to worry about it. So I sat there and had a little bit of a think for a while, and then just went, you know what, I'm going to use some really watered down purple and just fill the whole thing in and leave a gap. So it's got like a nice white sort of edge to the whole thing. And I tried to be very careful with it, so it was all coloured, but it was not going to go into the character itself because I didn't want to have to repaint any of it. And then I was like, okay, so I've got the purple in, that looks good, but it's a little bland. So I was like, okay, put some little hearts in the background, try and make a pattern, and realised that you can't see enough of the background to make the pattern look like anything. So it's like, okay, I'm going to put some little dots in between them all, but I didn't line them up well enough for it to really work. And at that point I was like, you know what, I just gotta leave it as it is so that I don't just ruin it by trying to make the background too fancy. So I left it to dry for a while and then came back through with a very dark purple for the line art, because I didn't want to use black. I know I had black for the ears and the tail, so it would have worked, but I didn't want to use black on the coloured areas because I wanted it to be a bit softer because she's very pastel, and I wanted to keep that sort of air about it. So I made this dark purple and went around most of it with that, and then I believe I used a dark green for the hair and the eyes, and yeah, I think that's all I did different coloured wise. I do remember messing up a little bit and having to redo it, but I believe that was in with the bit of footage that was lost. So in a moment the camera cut out and you don't get to see me actually finish it. You do get to see me mess up the face and start to try and fix it, but you don't get to see me finish fixing it. I'm sorry, but I kind of, my head was probably in the way for a lot of it anyway, because I got really frustrated and had to get super close so that I could actually see what was going on so I could fix it and make it look good, because I hadn't worked on this for like 2 or 3 hours to then mess up with the face. And there you go. So that's me realising how bad I messed up with the face. And you can definitely see how wonky the eyes are. Oh gosh, it's so painful to look at. It's like looking at my grade 5 artwork all over again. It's so bad. But I fix it and it looks okay in the end, and I do insert a completed picture so you can see how it turned out despite not having the footage of me finishing it. But I went over the nose and the mouth with some skin tone, and then once I did that, I realised that the eye was actually too big and at too far of an angle, and I ended up going over half of that too, and I don't think I caught that bit on footage, so maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, so that's this week's video, and next week I will probably attempt the second contest prize if I don't think of something else that I want to do instead. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed having a cuppa with me, and I hope you all did some drawing along, because that's the point. We're creating stuff. Have a good week, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!